didn't even realize you were out here. I mean, look at you. You're not relevant to me. Actually, that's not entirely true. Because at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I will defeat CM Punk and become the new WWE champion! And if you manage to get your hands around that, then your relevance to me will be as the first superstar ever to cash in your Money in the Bank contract and lose.
Those are strong words, but I can think of at least one person that disagrees with you.
Actually, John, I can think of a lot more people than just one that disagrees with Daniel. I mean, do I disagree with Daniel? Yes! John, do you disagree with Daniel?
Yes.
Does Jerry Lawler disagree with Daniel?
Yes.
Does the guy selling popcorn up there disagree with Daniel? Yes! Does this side of the crowd disagree with Daniel? Does this side disagree with Daniel?
That's enough!
What about this side? No. Yes! 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 Yes!
That is enough!
Yes!
That is enough!
Yes!
That is enough!
Yes!
Stop
Yes!
it! Stop
Yes!
it!
Yes!
Stop it! That is enough! I am begging someone around here to have one original thought and not just steal my catchphrase.
Well, you want an original thought? Your ex-girlfriend AJ happens to be the special guest referee for our match at Money in the Bank. And she is going to count your shoulders down to the mat. 1, 2, 3. How's that for an original thought? And if you win the Money in the Bank ladder match, John Cena, well, I guess it just comes down to me and you again, doesn't it?
That's not an original thought, Punk. Here's an original thought. You're still a wannabe. And Brian, if you're talking about people stealing your catchphrases, I wouldn't complain about it. It happens to me all the time. No offense, Mr. Best in the World.
None taken, Mr. Bon Jovi.
As I was saying, Brian, instead of complaining and using the same tired one word over and over again, you just have to think of some other catchphrases. That's all you need to do. Think of some other catchphrases that you can use, not just the same.
Listen, nobody asked you to be a part of this conversation.
Would you please shut the hell up and allow me to welcome all of you to Raw is Jericho! And after tonight, none of you in this ring will ever be the same again! See? You just need a little extra arrows in your quiver, kid. That's all you need to do. And as for you, Cena, you're right. You need to be better prepared. You need to be better prepared to know that since I invented the Money in the Bank ladder match, that therefore I'm going to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I dare you or anybody to come down to this ring and tell me otherwise.
Well, here's
can do that. The big red monster Kane, who knows something about winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. He won a couple of years ago, and Kane, remember, on the same night, he cashed in to win the World Championship. Not a lot of catchphrases from this guy, but a lot of victories. A lot of hurt people. It's hard to get crowded out here.
Otherwise.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Tell me he didn't just say that.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
The Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey, oh yeah.
And now, here's your host of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Really? Yeah!
Hello and welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. A rather hot opening there involving a lot of major players. Cena, Punk, Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho. Bringing a little bit of old school Jericho. Some of those classic catchphrases of his. And even a Kane appearance as well. Definitely a hot opening on a hot day here on 1490 WBCB. 97 degrees outside at the moment. We are in the midst of a rather interesting heat wave. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, Money in the Bank coming up a week from tomorrow. And prior to that, we'll talk a little bit of TNA as well as Destination X. The pay-per-view is tomorrow. I've got my predictions certain to go wrong coming up in this hour. Also, as I teased a little bit last week, we're going to look back and get some of your thoughts on your favorite or, I guess, infamous matches involving an item on a pole, which we could almost call it the your favorite Vince Russo matches because it seems like he threw a bunch of those together, and we'll get to some Facebook feedback from last week on that already. Already the Facebook today is rather active, the WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly Facebook fan page. George from George's Cards and Collectibles chiming in, and I hadn't gotten confirmation on this. A picture was posted a little while ago, and then it disappeared shortly thereafter, so I didn't know if something was on the table and then taken off, but it looks like it is confirmed. Next Saturday, July 14th, over at George's Cards and Collectibles on New Falls Road, the Nasty Boys, Knobs and Sags, will be there for autographs and photo ops from 1 until 3 o'clock. So might want to head on over a little early, check out the various collectibles and other wrestling memorabilia and sports memorabilia over at George's Cards and Collectibles. Listen to the show, which, if I have anything to say about it, it'll be piped in to the store. And then check out the Nasty Boys. They'll be there from 1 until 3 next Saturday, July 14th. And I'll make sure to make my way over there as soon as I'm done here on the airwaves with Pro Wrestling Weekly. So thanks, George, for that reminder. And I wanted to make sure I got that out there to all the listeners. John, of course, from the Northeast, he always has something good to say, or at least interesting to say the least, based on the whole AJ storyline, which she got a lot of featuring this past Monday on Raw. A special guest referee whom has personal ties to all the wrestlers in the match to which they will officiate. That's an original idea. Yes. I mean, no, it's not. That's interesting take from John, to say the least, on that. And Dan from Chicago, we know he chimes in here on pretty much a weekly basis. He threw in some Facebook feedback. Question for everyone: if WCW was still around, would there be a TNA? Kind of an interesting head scratcher. We may want to expand that as we go along here. You know, we'll make that a topic for next week. You know, would there be a TNA? Now, I did. You'll know that I tend to kind of keep things a little more professional here, but if you tend to see some of my reactions on the Facebook page, it can be a little bit, a little sassier, a little snarky, if you will. And my comment was, it depends on whether or not Jeff Jarrett burned his bridges with both companies, which, as of course you remember, Jeff did a lot of bouncing back and forth between the World Wrestling Federation and WCW back in the 90s. And it seemed like any chance he had, he would shoot on somebody. And, In one of the more recent cases, it was on Vince McMahon, and it's probably why after WCW got bought out that Jarrett wasn't coming back. Whether he would have stayed with WCW at that point and tried to make a great had it not gone out of business, that's a whole nother story. But a couple of different thoughts on that. Yes and no. First, WWE would partner up with them and then buy them, then no more TNA. Where would AJ Styles be would be a question about that. He'd be in WCW in one of the many NWO cliques, which today an interesting date in history regarding the NWO. That'll come up later in the hour with the Today in Wrestling History segment. And Joseph chiming in on the question, I would say yes, but as it stands today, the name hybrid for both would be called World Championship Nonstop Craption. Interesting. Definitely an interesting use of the word. And John, of course, chiming in with the low value of quality on WWE and TNA's products. Who's to say WCW ever left? Well, TNA's gotten better, I think. They've gotten away from a lot of the old guard that you've seen. I mean, you don't see as much of Hogan and Sting. Are they there? Yes. Are they featured? Not necessarily. I mean, you look at the Destination X lineup, and it's focused on the X division, and really the only veterans are three homegrown guys and one brought over from the WWE and Kurt Angle. But otherwise, I mean, the featured players, you got Samoa Joe, you got Chris Daniels, you got AJ Styles. All three of them have been mainstays pretty much since the beginning. You've got Austin Aries, you've got Bobby Roode. You don't see a whole lot of, you don't see Sting on there. You don't see Kevin Nash. You don't see your guys who are north of 45 and 50 taking up the main event slots, and that's definitely been a step in the right direction for TNA. And their storylines, say what you will about Vince Russo, with him not in the fold and Bruce Pritchard being brought in, has everything necessarily worked? No, but they're definitely heading in the right direction, and one can only hope that the ratings will follow and allow for competition somewhere down the line. I mean, obviously we're not looking to have Impact go back to Monday nights like the debacle a couple of years ago, but something to kind of get wrestling back on an upswing, because it's kind of been on a downward trend for a little while now. I'll have my predictions starting to go wrong. Quick look at the Bound for Glory series update. As of the moment, we've got three still tied in the zero column, no points after having a few matches. Bully Ray, Robbie E, and AJ Styles all with 0 points. Daniels with that count-out win still has 5 points. He's in 9th place. Tied for 7th with 7 points. The Pope and Rob Van Dam after a couple of matches going 1-1. Mr. Anderson has 9 and is in 6th place. Kurt Angle with 10 points in 5th. Jeff Hardy and Magnus tied for 3rd with 14 points. Samoa Joe having tied for wrestling the most matches with 4 matches. He's 3-1 in those. He's got 27 points, and in 3 matches, James Storm leading the pack with 36 points, although 20 of those was from that initial Battle Royal that he had won to kick off the Bound for Glory series. Anyway, we'll go ahead and take care of our first bit of business. Come back. We've got we got Steve from Bristol hanging on, as well as Ed from the Northeast, and we've got room for you as well. 215-949-3232 or toll free at 888-922-2149. Those are the ways to reach us via the telephones. You can also chime in on the Facebook fan page at WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly. And if you missed any of the shows or want to go back and listen to something that was said, we've got archives on YouTube. Just go ahead and search WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly. We've got archives going all the way back to October of last year. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.